So the big question is this: how do women over 30 struggling to lose weight and or looking to tone and lose unwanted body fat in those stubborn areas like the midsection, love handles, thighs, and upper arms, how do they build their dream bodies and keep their results long-term without surgery and without feeling like the only way to make it happen is to eat cardboard and broccoli the rest of their life? That is what this podcast is all about, and each episode is full of proven strategies that you can apply right away to create your dream body, allowing you to look younger, feel younger, and skyrocket your confidence. Welcome to the Transformation Secrets for Women podcast. I'm about to teach you exactly how the weight loss process works and also how to keep it very simple for long-term results, because today I'm going to walk you through not only how the weight loss process works, but also how to enjoy the process so much that you actually won't feel like you're missing anything, because that's what it's all about. Also, at any time, please feel free to go ahead and click right down below or head over to midsectionmelt.com to claim your complimentary midsection treatment, your clinical consultation with us also, where if we don't deliver you measurable results on the spot, we actually pay you $50 for your time. Hey, it's Trev Bucheri, America's favorite weight loss and midsection fat loss expert, helping our patients lose well over 500,000 pounds and counting. And now I'm sharing the same transformation secrets with you that I've already helped over 25,000 patients with. In this podcast, I'm going to actually teach you exactly how the weight loss process works and also how to keep it simple for long-term results. So let's get started. Now, we've all heard of it. We've all heard eat less and move more, calories in versus calories out. Very simple, right? But that being said, the weight loss process is a complex biological and physiological process. So what I want to do first things first as we get into this here, and then I'm going to really make it extremely simple, is I want to actually break it down. What is weight loss? I'm going to break it down into several key components, and you're going to recognize several of these words here, but it'll really make sense as we pull it together. So what is weight loss? Number one, it's caloric deficit. So weight loss primarily hinges on creating a caloric deficit. So basically burning more than we're eating. That means actually, just consuming less and burning more. All right. Secondly, it's based upon metabolism. Now, your metabolism influences how many calories your body actually burns at rest. All right. So things like age, gender, muscle mass, and also genetics, that can actually determine our metabolic rate, whether it be higher or whether it be lower. Thirdly is really what we eat. So reducing calories while actually maintaining proper nutrition, just make sure that we're actually losing fat and also retaining valuable muscle mass. So a diet high in veggies, fruits, lean proteins, whole grains, this is actually going to be supporting your weight loss goals here. Next is going to be exercise. So of course, we've heard physical activity. It helps to increase your total energy expenditure on a day. Strength training can actually also help to build and maintain muscle mass as we're trying to lose weight. And that's going to contribute also to a higher resting metabolic weight. The more muscle we have, the more body fat we're burning. The more muscle we have at rest, the more body fat we're burning at rest. All right, that's a beautiful thing. Next is going to be lifestyle change. So of course, healthy lifestyle habits such as getting enough sleep, managing stress, staying hydrated, all these things can massively impact weight loss efforts. And then next is consistency and patience, because of course, we've all heard it, weight loss is not an overnight process. We can speed it up, but it does require consistency and patience. It requires patience and consistency in really just maintaining that healthy nutrition protocol. We don't say diet, we say clean eating plan, and also consistency and patience in an exercise routine. Rapid and extreme weight loss methods are really just often unsustainable for a long period of time. We've actually, if you've heard me speak before, we talk about, I've tried well over 35 different diets, right? And the large majority of them, although all of them worked, I wanted to literally pull my hair out and I couldn't wait till it was over. And I was literally counting down until it was over. It was unsustainable. And many of them actually led to some health issues. So we want to really be cognizant of that. Now, let's talk about to a scientific level in terms of to a cellular level. Now, in terms of a cellular process, here's how the process of a fat cell emptying actually occurs. Number one, fat breakdown begins with what's called lipolysis. Here, hormones that are actually called, say, adrenaline and noradrenaline, which we've heard of before, these are released when the body actually requires more energy. And these hormones actually signify fat cells, and they say, hey, I need more energy. It's time to release your contents so that I can utilize that energy. So the fat cells then release that energy and release the contents of the fat cell into the bloodstream. Now, these are called free fatty acids and glycerol. So these free fatty acids and glycerol are released from the fat cell. They're transported through the bloodstream to the actual body areas that need the energy, the body cells that need the energy most. Now, the released free fatty acids, these are used by various cells. They're used by muscle cells for energy, and they're used by, other functional cells as well. But in this case, if we're talking about fat loss and weight loss, in this case, they're mainly used by, say, muscle cells as energy throughout the day. So if you maintain a caloric deficit consistently during weight loss, in other words, again, we're burning more than we're eating, the body will actually continue to rely on this stored fat as an energy source. So that process will continue to happen over and over and over again. Again, the fat cells will be signified, I need more energy. They'll start to release some of its contents, which is your storage, to be utilized as that energy. All right. And this gradually is going to decrease the fat content within the fat cells, and also the fat cells will then gradually shrink. And it's also important to note here that fat cells expand and contract based upon caloric consumption. So yes, weight loss can actually cause fat cells to reduce in size. But if you return to a caloric surplus, which is excessive calorie intake, these cells are going to expand again, leading to weight gain or weight regain. So that's why we get the up and down and the up and down. Now, all of this said, it's about much more than that, and it needs to be rooted in simplicity. It's all about having a well-rounded approach to actually deliver an effective result in the most efficient way and in a manner that's sustainable over the long term, because nobody wants to put in any effort whatsoever, get any result, only, again, to go back to the starting line. Just doesn't happen. So what this means is it needs to be enjoyable, or it won't be sustainable. That's why we say that every single one of our patients needs to be going into our nutrition program, which is a taste-centered, clean eating program. All right, it cannot be a diet. Diets, immediately we think of, I'm going to be missing out on something. I'm going to be actually sustaining hardcore. I need to be overly disciplined, and how long can I actually retain this? We have these thoughts when we think of diets. So that's why we say, first things first, what's going to make it enjoyable? Well, it needs to taste great. It needs to be taste-centered, or else it's not in our program. And that's really what I discovered over these 35 plus different nutrition protocols that I've come into play with. And yes, of course, yes, fitness pertains to it as well, right? But now we're talking about nutrition here. It needs to be enjoyable. From a nutrition standpoint, taste-centered, clean eating, all right? Or else it doesn't belong in our program. I've taken the best of the best principles that were in those 35 plus nutrition protocols, and I said, here's what works, here's what didn't. I got rid of what didn't, and I brought them all together. And the number one thing for me was taste. And that's the number one thing for our patients as well, because then we don't feel like we're missing anything. Then we don't feel like we need to restrict ourselves from going out to a restaurant. What do I do when I go out to I can't go out to a restaurant because I need to stay on this protocol. That does not work for anyone long term, I should say. And that's not enjoyable whatsoever. Now, from an enjoyment factor, from a fitness standpoint, also, it needs to be enjoyable as well. It needs to be fun. All right, it needs to be fun. It needs to be something you enjoy, not a torture session. All right, next is going to be simple to employ, simple to actually implement, or we won't do it over the long haul. All right, so from a nutrition standpoint, 10-minute meals, 10-minute meal prep, or it's not in our program whatsoever, because we're working with busy people. We're working with busy moms. We're working with busy professional women, or basically people who don't enjoy cooking, who say, you know what, I don't want to be cooking for 40 minutes. I don't want to be cooking for 50 minutes or an hour. Who does, right? So it needs to be 10-minute meals that are also taste-centered. That's huge, right? Because many of us actually have families as well. And I'll tell you, one thing that did not work for me when I was doing these 35 plus different protocols is the fact that we have 3 boys. So many programs are like, okay, well, I need to make this certain food for myself and then this certain food for my kids. That just didn't work at all. And that's where taste-centered also comes into play big time too, because now the issue that we're having with my boys is that they're eating all of our food. You know what I mean? Yes, we are cooking only one meal for everyone, but they're eating the same taste-centered, clean eating nutrition program that we are. So that they're healthy at the same time that we are, we're actually getting results. The food is actually on the way to our results, not in the way. And we're not actually spending double time cooking, wasting our time. Now from an exercise standpoint, from a simple to employ, it also needs to be convenient. It cannot take an hour. It cannot take an hour and a half. Otherwise, how are we going to be consistent with that? We're all busy. Who has that time? And we talked about convenience. It needs to be convenience, and it needs to be precise. I will say that as well. That's another thing. It needs to be precise. It needs to be something that we have a particular objective, and we need to actually have a strategy to make sure we get to that particular objective. So in other words, here's the objective: losing weight compared to bodybuilding. All right, we're talking about nutrition. It's going to be a completely different strategy, completely different approach for losing weight from a taste-centered, clean eating program compared to bodybuilding. All right, even if we're saying, hey, bodybuilders, they deserve to have a taste-centered, clean eating program as well, that's going to be a completely different protocol, a completely different strategy. Now we're talking about fitness. Same thing when we're talking about losing weight and targeted fat loss results compared to bodybuilding. There's a completely different protocol that's required to actually lose weight, all right, and targeted fat loss results here. All right, there's a completely different strategy we're going to be using compared to someone who's bodybuilding. All right, so it needs to be particular to that objective. Now, here's a couple things that we need to be careful about with this. Number one is really eating too few calories, because when we're going into starvation mode, our body holds on to everything. So that's something that I've learned really, really early on, and something that I would say 85 to 90% of our patients who come in here are in starvation mode. And what that means is that they're in the mindset of like, well, I'll just eat less, because we hear eat less, move more. Yes, to a certain point, but if we're talking about eating so few calories that we're going into starvation mode, one thing, our body is actually utilizing muscle as energy, because that's the most, I guess you'd say, the most accessible method of calories that we can have. Our body, we would want it to say, hey, use fat. I'm going to be eating 400 calories per day. Why don't we utilize fat as fuel? Well, because it actually takes 9 calories to actually access 1 gram of fat, where it only takes 4 calories to access 1 of muscle. So our body's going to say, well, I'll use all the muscle first, then I'll use the fat. And generally, we never get to the body fat. So therefore, we start losing our muscle mass, which means that our metabolism slows down, and we end up gaining weight. And we're like, how can this happen? I'm eating 400, 500 calories per day. Eating too few calories puts our body into starvation mode, because our body says, well, I don't know when you're going to eat again. So you just ate right now, which means I need to hold on to every single calorie you just did, because I don't know when you're going to eat again. As opposed to when we actually regulate that, our body utilizes what it needs and it gets rid of the rest. So eating too few calories is something we need to be very, very cognizant about. Also, eating enough protein. And there is so much misinformation on, well, how much protein do we need? Misinformation on this, and after tons of documented research, there's no need, I will absolutely tell you this and stand by this, there's no need for more than 15 to 20% of our calories that we're consuming on a daily basis coming from protein to not only sustain muscle, so our metabolism stays high and our ability to burn body fat stays high, but also actually build new muscle. There's another question, well, I've heard about, what about half your body weight, or what about 1 gram per pound? And here's what it comes down to. It all comes down to calories. So if you're actually supposed to be eating, say, 2,000 calories per day, we'll say the typical diet, right? You actually want 15 to 20% of those calories coming from protein, which is 300 to 400 calories from protein. And since every gram of protein is 4 calories, we just go 300 to 400 calories divided by 4, which comes out to 75 to 100 grams of protein. And that is really all we need on a 2,000 calorie diet. So it really breaks down to that level of simplicity. So how do we prevent ourselves from actually losing muscle? That's another question. And a couple great answers here. Resistance training. Resistance training continues to engage the musculature, because here's the adage that we do know, that we've heard of: use it or lose it, right? So if we utilize the musculature, we're going to retain the musculature. Also, we talked about eating enough protein and also eating enough calories. We talked about all 3 of those things. If we're eating too few calories, our body says, boom, I'm going to use the muscle first. That's going to be my next energy source, not fat. Fat's next. All right. If we're eating enough protein, say 15 to 20%, that's going to be our greatest weapon, one of our greatest weapons, I should say, to retaining the muscle that we have as we're losing body weight, and also building new muscle as we're losing body weight and we're losing that body fat, I should say. And then resistance training is another way to actually enforce the use it or lose it. So we're eating enough protein to build more muscle. We're working that muscle to sustain that muscle, to solidify that muscle as well. So that's how we actually prevent ourselves from losing muscle mass. And I want to give you this today. I want to give you a very simple weight loss solution so you can actually get started right now. Because why wait? Let's use this approach. So let's use an approach that all of us have heard of today, and that's actually the caloric approach. The caloric approach. All right. So let's say that we want to lose weight. We want to lose weight, and let's say right now your weight is at 200 pounds, and that is your goal. I'm at 200 pounds and I want to lose weight. How do I do that? How many calories do I eat per day? We're going to talk about this. You're going to be taking your current body weight, whether it be 200 or whether it be 150. I'm just using 200 as this example, and you're going to multiply that by 10 to 12. All right, so if we take 200 multiplied by 10, that equals 2,000. If we take 200 multiplied by 12, that equals 2,400. So that is going to be how many calories you're going to be eating. Now you're saying, well, should I eat 2,000 or should I eat 2,400? All right, to actually lose weight here. This is going to be your scale. If you want to lose weight faster, you'd eat 2,000. If you want to lose weight just a little bit slower and kind of a more sustainable rate long term, then you'd eat 2,200 or 2,400. Okay, and that's really what we're talking about here, is you can actually speed up or slow down the actual weight loss based upon that caloric range for you. So your body weight times 10 is going to be quicker body fat loss. Your body weight times 12 is going to be weight loss, but not as quickly. All right, so there's your formula right there. So you can actually take this and apply what you've learned right now and start getting to that dream body. And there it is. Now you know exactly how the weight loss process works and how to keep it simple for long-term results. Thank you so much for joining me. Go ahead, click right down below or head over to midsectionmelt.com to claim your complimentary midsection treatment and clinical consultation with us, where if we don't deliver you measurable results on the spot, we'll actually pay you $50 for your time. And also, I'd so appreciate if you please follow or subscribe. Again, I'm Trev Bucheri. Thank you so much for investing your time with me, and give your best to the rest of your day. Take care. Thank you so much for listening today. And if you found value here, please go ahead and follow or subscribe. And also, please take a moment to share it with anyone you feel would benefit. Now, also, don't forget, as your free gift just for listening, you're able to claim your complimentary midsection treatment and clinical consultation with a value of over $250, where if we don't deliver you measurable results on the spot, we actually pay you $50 for your time. Simply go to midsectionmelt.com. That's midsectionmelt.com. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.